Hey guys, it's Shara from Woodshop Diaries, and today's the day we're finally going to do something with all of these scraps. A while back I shared with you a glimpse into my wood storage room, and a lot of you had a lot of things to say about my out of control scrap pile. To be honest, I've been tired of it for about 4 years now, and so I finally decided to build a cart to help me store and organize and know when it's time to purge my scrap wood. This is a super quick project that I'm excited to share with you, so if you're ready to get building, let's go. You guys know I go through a lot of plywood around here. I love building with it, but the problem with plywood is that the scraps can end up being just about any size, which makes it really hard to organize. For years, I just had my plywood scraps leaning against my wall, and every couple of months, I'd go sort through it, throw some out, and put it back in some kind of order. But lately, my whole wood storage room has gotten out of control, and I figured now was a good time to actually build something to properly store these pieces. So here we are. Normally, this is the part of the project where I pull out a sheet of plywood and start cutting it down. However, in recently cleaning out my shop, I took apart a cabinet that I wasn't using anymore and decided to reuse the wood from it to build this cart. It's always nice when my old shop projects can give life to new ones. But in case you're cutting from a fresh sheet, I'm sharing the printable building plans for this simple cart at the link in the video description, and it will include the full cut list and diagrams to start from scratch. To get started with this build, I picked out a piece to use for the bottom of the cart first. Then I picked out 2 pieces to use for the sides. I decided to cut the top corners off of the sides so that they kind of sloped from the back to the front. So I marked 8 inches up from the bottom and 5 inches from the back edge, drew a line across these marks, and then used my Craig AccuCut and circular saw to cut. I traced the cut piece onto the other side and cut it the same way. These pieces already had pocket holes drilled into the ends, which were left from the project that I took them off of, so I was able to reuse those to assemble the sides to the bottom panel. But don't worry, I'll bring out the pocket hole jig and drill some more here in a minute. I spaced these 2 sides about 38 inches apart. That leaves room on the left for a small cubby, which you'll see later. I didn't make the back side of this a solid piece just to save on some material. Instead, I cut 2 strips of plywood about 3 inches wide to serve as the back. I drilled 3/4 inch pocket holes into the ends of each and installed one across the top between the side panels and another about halfway up using pocket hole screws. I plan to store large panels in the back here, so they shouldn't slip through these gaps. However, if you wanted to, you could certainly install a solid back panel here. It's just a lot of extra plywood. Next, I cut another piece just like the sides, only after cutting the angle, I cut off the back 5 inches. Then I realized that I only wanted this piece to be about 16 inches tall, so I cut off the top 2. This piece also had existing pocket holes already drilled into it left over from the old project that I took it from, but after cutting it down so much, I only had 2 pocket holes left, so I drilled a third one just to be safe. I centered this divider between the sides and installed it with pocket hole screws so that it was flush to the front edge of the cart. Then I cut 4 more plywood strips to run between the sides and the divider panel. I drilled 3/4 inch pocket holes into the end of each strip to install. Now, here's where you may want to customize for what makes sense to you. In my shop, I use these plywood scraps often for drawer boxes. I almost always make my door boxes 16 inches deep, so when I go to my scrap pile, I want to easily sort through and see what is at least 16 inches long. That's why I made my divider 16 inches tall. I installed 2 strips at the top of my divider panel so that when I place my scraps in this section, if they're taller than this piece, I know they're useful for drawer box sides. But for the smaller stuff, I installed 2 more strips 10 inches up from the bottom and about 8 inches in from the front edge. This will just help me organize my pieces by size, and I know that whatever is shorter than these 10-inch high pieces should probably just go to the garbage can because I likely won't have any use for it. So basically, I just divided this into 5 sections. 1 large section across the back, 2 sections for 16-inch or longer pieces in the middle, and 2 sections for 10 to 16-inch long pieces in the front. Now I needed to finish this cubby section on the left. Once again, I cut another piece of plywood identical to the sides to go on this end. This section will be for thin strips. I like to use these pieces for spacer blocks, paint stirrers, all kinds of things. Since I usually keep these in various lengths, I made the back of this section solid so that the shorter pieces stay contained. So I cut to fit and installed a back panel here using pocket holes and screws. I finished up by cutting a piece to run along the front edge. I ripped this piece from some of my plywood scraps and just screwed this on the front. Okay, so I've got the scrap part here. All I have to do is add the wheels. So I actually ordered some wheels for this specifically, but they're not gonna be here for another couple of days, and I really need to get this done in order to have the video out by the time that I want it out. So I'm gonna steal the caster wheels off of my planer cart to put on the bottom of here to finish the project. And then when the real caster wheels come, I'll swap them out. Sometimes to get the video out on time, you just have to do what you have to do. So for now, I stole these caster wheels from my planer cart and I'll swap them out when the new ones get here. These work fine for now, they're just a little dusty. Alright, so I want to screw these caster wheels onto the bottom here, but this is only 3/4 inches thick and my screws are longer than this, so I'm gonna add 2 additional pieces here on the bottom. That way my 1 1/4 inch screws that I'm using won't poke up through the bottom side of the cart. I screwed some scrap plywood pieces onto the bottom of each side so that I could use longer screws to attach the caster wheels. And then I just screwed the casters in, 1 on each corner. I use pocket hole screws for this since they already have a built-in washer head, but regular screws and some washers would work too. And with that, this cart was ready to load up. I love that the sections can help me organize all of my pieces by size, but I also love that I know once this cart is full, it's time to purge because there's really no reason for me to keep more than this cart can hold. This will hopefully help keep me more accountable so I don't just hoard every little piece of wood. I made this cart with plywood in mind, obviously, but I'm going to be looking at some ideas to help me deal with my scrap boards soon too. So I'll have some more shop projects coming your way soon. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed watching this come together, and if you'd like the plans, be sure to grab them at the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching, friends, and until next time, happy building!